Hey, good morning, everybody. Looks like we got people coming in right now, which is awesome. I'm your host, Art Janowick. You may have seen me or heard me before on these and/or corresponded with me via email or phone, but this is building real employability skills for individuals with barriers. A couple housekeeping things I always like to start with, especially as people are filtering in. Number one is, can you hear me? Which it looks like good morning from Sam and Lauren so far. But type in the chat, you can hear me where you're coming in from. If you're from beautiful, snowy, cold Wisconsin or the Midwest, or from sunny, I would say Florida, but they were in like the 20s, teens. Sunny Southern California, shout out. But we are going to get started. This is going to be a half hour. I like to keep it nice and tight, especially just some anecdotal research. People tend to fall off due to like planning periods or times that they have if you're in the schools. And moreover, no one likes sitting around for an hour anyway, not doing anything. So I want to keep it nice and tight. And then, we're going to cover a couple. You're going to get a recording tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, first thing, you will get a recording of this should you want to watch it again. If you had to jet out early, want to take some notes, want to 2x the speed and listen to it for 15 minutes in your car. Whatever you need, pass it along to a colleague, you're going to be golden. But what we're going to cover today is what employability skills are and what employers are consistently saying matters most, why traditional approaches often fall short for special populations, and then how to assess and teach these soft skills, these employability skills that are concrete, accessible, and measurable. It's going to be an action-packed half hour. I'm going to just pause for a second, especially as people are coming in. Grab something to drink, some coffee, tea, soda, water, something to write with. I'm hoping to have you come away with at least 3 nuggets that you can pull from this. And we are going to hit the ground running in at most 60 seconds. All right. All right. So looks like we got some familiar faces in the chat. I see. Wonderful. Marianne, welcome. People from what? North Carolina, California, Kansas, Virginia. Beautiful. So we're going to focus primarily on, if you're familiar with Conover Online and you know it already, the workplace readiness credential. I'm going to share my screen if it'll let me. Beautiful. So the workplace readiness credential. And if you're new here or you saw it on social or something and you joined, welcome. Workplace readiness credential is our employability skills program. It's how we measure and teach employability skills. And so I'm going to, again, you're going to get this too. You're going to get this slide deck. I'll send it over. But the main priority of this program is to systematically have a systematic way to measure and teach these real employability skills. And especially with individuals with barriers. So, yes, we're talking about individuals with disabilities, and I'll focus on a piece of that, but also just barriers like we work with reentry, out of school youth, first gen low income students in college, higher ed. So we work in all these spaces, and the funding from both the state and the federal governments and certain philanthropic grants come to serve these individuals. And that's where our credential works best because it's, again, systematic. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you sitting here today, Jan, Sabrina, Matt, Javier, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so that's what's really great about our tools and how I explain them best is it's like anything. It's a tool in your toolbox. There is and never will be a magic pill that will solve all of our issues, a magic product, a magic assessment, a magic curriculum. You still have to use it as a tool. And so if we think that way as a publisher, as a developer, as a creator, then we're going to build products that are going to be built that way. Okay. Versus the end all be all. This is the best thing. Although we do think very highly, right, of our stuff. I don't want to speak disparaging on it because it does work if you use it as a tool. So I'm going to go through this, again, cover this stuff, and then I'll jump into the practicality of it in Conover Online. So for those of you that are customers, you're going to see the actual practical, how can I implement this today? And then if you're not customers and you're coming at us just kind of interested or curious and sitting in the weeds, kind of listening, maybe potentially can help you see how this could help build real employability skills for individuals with barriers. Okay. So without further ado, let's start with the research. So research shows that only 15% of worker success is determined by what they know, the hard skills. And the other 85 is determined by the soft skills, these employability skills. So as we look at those percentages and that data, we have to ask ourselves is where are the weight of what we're doing with our individuals with barriers? Obviously, when you talk about GEDs, high school diplomas or equivalency, that's important. But can they work with other people? Are they professionals? Can they think critically? How do they handle themselves when stress hits? Right? These are all questions that arguably, based on the data, matter more. And so Conover has been, this product specifically, about 40 years of research and development. This one in particular has been around for, over a decade now. But there's 3 series in it. The Workplace Readiness Program has 3 series, and they're designed the same way, but they're separate in their intent. Okay. So what I mean by that is there's 3 series: the Job Readiness series, the Job Seeking series, and the Job Keeping series. And all 3 of them are designed the same exact way. It's just a different focus. Okay. So I'll get to how they're designed in a second. So the first one, job readiness. This is by far our most used section. It is the section that is the transferable employability skills, right? So attitude is attitude is attitude. What I mean by that is I've spoken to many people across industries, and there's kind of 2 schools of thought. One is, we need employability skills. And the other is, yes, we need employability skills, but I need it specific to my welding program, nursing program, auto tech, fill in the blank, CDL. When in reality, if we really break down the competencies, it doesn't matter if you're an IT driving truck or helping people next to bedside. Attitude, communication, planning and organizing, critical thinking, social skills, teamwork, professionalism, media rules. It doesn't matter because they're the same competencies. It's just delivered in a different setting, right? My bedside manner, if I'm a nurse, yes, that's important. However, if I'm a truck driver stopping at a truck stop, working with either a gas station attendant or a weight thing off the highway, that's the same thing, right? I need to communicate with those people. I need to plan and organize, all these things. And so this is the fully transferable job readiness section of the program. Right. Next is job seeking. And that's going to be more about resumes, interviews, after the interview. And this is really nice because a lot of programs we work in have mock interview, which is the practice, right? The actual practice of speaking and interviewing. And that's wonderful because you need to mock that and act that out to kind of practice. Practice makes perfect. But this can be weaved in between what you're doing in that seeking section of your current program. Okay. And then last, but certainly not least, job keeping. I always say, getting a job, getting that career, is not the end, it's the start. So how do you get off on the right foot? How do you handle criticism? How do you handle feedback? Water cooler talk, all of those things once you get the job. So job keeping. And I just like to bring this image in because it kind of illustrates what we're trying to do with individuals as a whole, the holistic approach. And this was from a psychologist, Carl Rogers. And what Carl was talking about was, as you see, poorly adjusted, well-adjusted, happy, unhappy. And the difference in this Venn diagram is the overlap. In a well-adjusted individual, there is a great deal of overlap between reality, like who they really are, and self-image, who they think they are, right? If I communicate well, I got a positive attitude, I am a professional, right? All these things I think, and then I really am those things, I'm going to be happy because it's not disjointed. Whereas the unhappy individual, the poorly adjusted individual, there's little, I think those things, but in reality, I'm not those things. Well, there's going to be some friction, hence the unhappiness. And so what we're trying to do is shift the poorly adjusted individual into being well-adjusted, who they really are. And we do that through our process of assessment, driving instruction. So we can shift that poorly adjusted individual over to, and I don't know which way I'm going on the screen with you. I think it might be mirrored, but the poorly adjusted individual into the well-adjusted individual, right? Which will ultimately deal with happiness. So let's jump into how it works. First thing we do is a pre-assessment. I'm just going to check with my team and make sure everything's still good. First thing we do is a pre-assessment. And the pre-assessment is really the key. And the reason it's the key is because the next step is the teach. Now, most people, most programs have the teaching component already, truthfully. Whether you built it yourself, you have a different curriculum, you whatever. They're incorporating employability skills into the process. From what I've talked to people, they're doing it at some capacity. The missing piece is the pre-assessment. Because where do you start? Where do you start? Like, what is Art versus Miguel versus Ben versus Lauren versus Sam, right? Like who? We're all different people. So if we pre-assess the individual, that can help drive the teaching. That can help drive the teaching. And so the teaching component, what happens is we can both self-pace, like, okay, you scored poorly in attitude, Art, so you're going to go through attitude. Lauren, you scored poorly in communication, so you're going to go through communication. So the assessment drives the instruction at an independent level. But there are also instructor-led videos with PDF workbooks to help facilitate workshops and build these skills. But again, you're using the assessment, right? Because if I take a class of 30 and I can see that 28 out of 30 are low in critical thinking, great. Then I'm going to hammer critical thinking because I need to teach that to these 28 out of 30 kids. And then the two that scored maybe higher, they're still going to learn something, right? They're going to take a nugget. So the teaching components, yes, obviously critical. When we talk about building, see the crux of it all, when you look at the title of our webinar, Build Real Employability Skills for Individuals with Barriers, everyone's again looking for that magic bullet. Well, if you were to take one thing, it's this. It's the pre-assessment, because that drives everything. Then the teaching comes easy. You can use our stuff. You can just use your own stuff, right? Like some teachers kind of facilitate learning through like a book or something. They'll take Stephen Covey or other, I'm trying to think of other ones, right? That you can just incorporate. And that's wonderful. Do that. But that assessment can drive that. And then after the teaching, what happens? Post-assess. Now I can document skill acquisition. If I'm grant funded, I'm federal funded, right? I have to have strings attached to that of growth and what I'm doing with people and all. Great. Here are my results. Johnny scored 30% in attitude on February 5th. And then on February 28th, he scored a 88% on attitude. He showed that growth over the month of February. Man, November, that's like the start of winter. We're kind of gearing out of winter. So February. So now you have the post-assessment to have that growth over time. So all three of our series, going back to kind of the structure, All three of these series are separate, but they're designed that same way. Pre-assessment, teaching, post-assessment, but it's indicative of the series you're in. So like job readiness has its own pretest. Job seeking has its own pretest. Job keeping has its own pretest. And then that drives the instruction. And then if students earn a 70% or higher on the pre or post, then they can earn a credential. And this credential can be customized coming from you. Because yes, it's from our research. Yes, it's from our diligence. Yes, it's from our history. Yes, we built it. But truthfully, you're the ones in the community. You're the schools. You're the service providers. You're the workforce development boards. You're the community-based organization. You're the ones with the real relationships. And so now you can customize this, incorporate your logo. It's got your name on it saying, yes, Emily earned these employability skills. She's got them. We talked about them. Here we are. And you're ready to go. Okay. Told you we're going to move fast. If you came late, I apologize. You came right in the thick of it. And once you get me going, we get moving. So let me take a pause. We'll take a little break because I don't know if I'll have questions at the end, if we'll have time for that. So any questions right now? And then we're going to jump into the practicality of it. We're going to talk, we already talked about obviously what they are, what I didn't say what employers say matter most, but employability skills. I mean, you ask any employer why they have to fire people or why people get, let go, or very rarely is it, well, she didn't know how to work the cash register, or, he did a poor job welding, or, it's more like he didn't show up. No call, no show. I tried to give her feedback on something to kind of help her improve. And she bit my head off. She yelled at me. She screamed at me, right? It's these skills. And so that's what employers are consistent. I've even talked to employers that have a whole 9-week training program. They do training throughout the week, and then Fridays are tests. And if they pass the test, they move on. If they don't, they're gone. So it's like 9 weeks, and then you do a little ride along, and then you're off and running. So 10 weeks, you're golden. And it's never really the training, right? It's the other, quote unquote, other stuff. I'll wait a little bit more for questions, and then we'll jump into the practical. And then I'm going to cover, when I talk about the practical, I'm going to cover why traditional approaches often fall short for individuals with barriers. And then obviously we're going to talk about the how to teach and assess, these soft skills is through our product, right? Beautiful. I don't see any questions. If I missed them, I apologize, but that's all right. We'll get to them. So let me share my screen. All right, one question. Kia, are the workshop materials as a trainer available in all levels of Conover? And I don't know if I'm delayed, so I apologize. Yes, they should be. It depends on the account type you have. So that's kind of a loaded question in that, like, yes, they are. But if you have the access to them. So reach out to us individually. Number 2, Noah, are there tests on Conover's website? I have only used the instructor-led section. Yes, 100%. We'll get into that, Noah, right now. Let me just join in here. Yes. All right, so I'm going to log in. Whoop. I shared my screen. Apologies. All right, here we go. So I'm going to log in. Again, some of you, most of you, I checked I went through them, and most of you are customers already, which is wonderful. And we appreciate you so much. For those few that I maybe didn't recognize or that you aren't customers, this is how you log in. This is our portal. And when you log into Conover Online, the very first thing you see is normally not this. Well, of course. I don't think that's ever popped up in my entire life, and yet it popped up now. That's hilarious. It's a webinar, it's meant to be. So the first thing you see is the Conover Online dashboard. It says, welcome to Conover Online, insert name, right? So here it says Art. And what we want to first do is, well, let me log in, is to create an account. Now, when you create an account, you can create either an administrator, and some of you may be administrators, or users. Users are your actual students, participants, individuals you serve, right? These are users. And you put them in your account. And once you do, and I don't spend a lot of time on that because that's more of a simple FAQ that you can see in 5 minutes. And frankly, I know your time's valuable. I don't want to waste it on that basic information there. If you have questions, always reach out. But once you create your users, they will be listed here. And this is where you can actually assign something to them to work on, whether it's workplace readiness or something else. You're able to go in here and assign the various programs. Okay, so I'm going to go down into the emotional intelligence section, and I'm going to go into manage assignments. And again, a couple call outs. I'm only going into workplace readiness because this is what covers the employability skills. And again, I want to be cognizant of your time. If you have questions on other products, or, hey, I don't have access to that, or what is this, financial success, anger management, please reach out. I mean, one-on-one is the best because we answer your questions specifically, not broad-based. And the best way to do that is either email us or hit this little yellow, my face is covering it, but hit this little yellow guy down in the corner, and this pops up some FAQs. You can send us a message. It's going to give you some generated info to just see, hey, does this answer? And if not, our team sees all of these. So Chris, Sam, Matt, all of us see these. So just some food for thought there. But let's go into workplace readiness. Manage assignments. Now, when I assign this to Adam, the very first thing he's going to do, going back to this, right, is the assessment. So the very first thing he's going to see is the assessment. And so that's what we want to have drive instruction. Now, back up a little bit. If I want to assign something else, what's really nice is we have, so here's Adam, my fake student. We have both a standard version and an adapted version. Okay. And this is what's really nice about this is you have the choice for every participant, again, individualizing. So if I go back to here, individualizing for Adam Zacher, and I realize I wasn't sharing this screen, so I'll kind of rehash as you visually see this. But if I have Adam, I have the ability to assign either the standard version or the adapted version for Adam. Same thing for Maggie. Same thing for Sam. Same thing for Vivian. Same thing for Levi. So you can individualize per person what their needs are. Okay. Now, one note about the adapted version is there is no pre-assessment on the adapted version yet. So a few weeks ago, I was talking to both customers and then internally, and we were talking about the fact that, the assessment drives the instruction on the standard version. And yes, it may not be appropriate or it may be too high level for individuals with barriers, individuals with disabilities, such as the adapted version. And so we should make one that either a user can take or the practitioner, the teacher, the job coach, can take for that person to kind of trigger assignments. So you kind of can know it can provide guidance. And that was received well from both. So just know we're having conversations internally that we know that it's not available here, but we're working on it and it will be released. Not sure when. So don't. The next question people ask is when. Don't know, but we're focused on incorporating that to kind of drive the instruction. But I will say with the adapted version, this is the one I'll kind of primarily focus on just for a second. And then I'll get into the standard version. But the adapted version does have what I call checkpoints. And what's nice about the adapted version is if you go into any one of the modules like communication or attitude, job seeking, you name it. What's nice is there's going to be a short little video, minute, 22 seconds, which I know you can't hear. Let me turn the closed captioning on. So there's audio, right? And if you've seen our products, you know how that looks and works. But then we're going to have what I call checkpoints in here, where it's like, did CJ communicate well with his coworker in this video? Yes, no. So there is no pre-assessment per se, but there are these assessments to check for understanding. So that currently exists inside, and that kind of answers your question, Noah. I'll get to the other standard side now, but this is being tracked and saved. So when you pull up data inside of the system, you're able to see all of the data from an individual's units. And this AE, this blue AE that you see, this is going to be the adapted version. So you can see right on screen, okay, Allison did the attitude adapted edition. And so we can see how she scored. So all this data is being captured. Time on task, date started, date completed. You have all that information right here at your fingertips. Okay. And so that's the adapted version. Is you can assign the program if you go into, workplace readiness, and then you can say adapted or standard, and then assign either the various modules individually or assign it en masse or all. You can just say, yeah, I want this person to do all these things. Okay, that's number one. Number two is the standard version. The standard version follows that flow that I was talking about in the first 10, 15 minutes, where there is a map, which is our assessment, and then that drives the instruction. So what's really nice, if we put a use case together, when we talk about building real employability skills, practically, how do I do this? How do I make my job easy? I want to show you this. Let's say I have a team of 10 people, right? I'm a director of a program. And I have a team of 10 people. These are my administrator accounts. So these are all, or more, 18. Let's just say 18 people. And these are all my team that are in the trenches. And I have 1,172 participants. Now, again, these could be students. These could be youth build. These could be out of school youth, WIOA. This could be reentry program, second chance grants, whatever. I want to assign this to them. Well, first thing I do is I input them all. I can batch upload, right? In 30 seconds, 5 minutes, batch upload all 1,000. And then I want to assign the program to them. So what do? I check all. So down here, it's saying 25 accounts select all 1,172. And then what? Well, I want to assign the workplace readiness program to all of them. So I go to assign, I click it, and then I can mass assign the workplace readiness program to all 1,172 people. Done. Do I want them all to do adapted? So in a matter of minutes, like under 10, I can add thousands of people to the system, and I can assign thousands of people, those same people, this product. So the next thing they have to do is log in with those credentials that I've assigned to Aaron, to Vivian, to Levi, to Silas. And then they log in and do it. And then when they're done, excuse me, all the data's there. So I can go to reports and I can view all that data, both individually for job coaching. And I'm going to wrap it up here. I said 30 minutes. I want to keep cognizant of that. I can see individually, and I can also see summaries. So I want to run a group report for the East Office or the North Campus or the whatever, and run a group spreadsheet that can export into me. And I can show all that data, who earned a credential, who passed, who failed, filter by start date, end date. And then to answer your question, Kia, well, what next? Well, after I look at the data and I see that, man, so many people did horrible on planning and organizing. Out of my 1,172 people, so many people did horrible on planning and organizing. What do I do? Well, you teach it both individually and as an instructor. How do you do that? Last thing I'll say, and I'll let those that have to go. You go right here at the top, instructor-led, workplace readiness, standard or adapted, planning and organizing. Here are all of the videos at my fingertips. 41 seconds, 36 seconds, 46 seconds. I play a video in the front of a class, smartboard, projector, TV, you name it. And then I have not only the discussions on screen right here, but I have the PDF workbooks to hammer home planning and organizing for this group, because the majority scored poorly in that. Woo! I love these because I don't waste time either. I don't waste your time. I will be happy to sit around with questions. For those of you that do need to go, you planned for a half hour. Absolutely, this is the end. I'll just be answering questions if you want to stick around. But other than that, again, for those of you that are customers, I so appreciate you. We appreciate you here at Conover. And let us know if you have questions. Again, just to reiterate, as if you're on your way out of the door, this yellow button, I can't speak highly enough of this. Chris is the main guy that answers. You've probably seen him. He gets you in and out. You know, he answers your questions, but I jump in there and do as well. Our team sees those. So happy to help in any way that we can to implement this with fidelity. Why? Well, because at the end of the day, in our 52 years-ish of experience, we know that if you use our tools in your toolbox, you'll ultimately build confidence, you'll have consistency, and the people that you work with barriers will have these employability skills. All right, so great. Any questions, comments, concerns? Thank you, Lauren, Miguel. Thank you. Yeah. Kia, yes. Reach out to us. It could be on like the plan that you have. I know what you're talking about, by the way, when you say it, unlock it with 20 or more clients. Yeah, reach out to us because the plan basically you have is like a lower plan in that you don't have as many people that you assign the program to. Again, I don't want to confuse you or conflate, but reach out to us, me, yellow button down there. We'll get back to you and figure something out. Beautiful. Another 30 seconds, just because I don't want to, in the replay, have a dead spot of like 10 minutes of silence, and it extends the video and people don't watch it because it's now 40 minutes. All right. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you all so very much. Reach out to us if you have questions, comments, concerns, not only in the little yellow button, but if you ever want to go to our website, we got a bunch of research, a bunch of stuff there too. Check it out. And then I'll wrap up with this. I see your question, Kia. Yes, you will receive a playback tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, first thing around 8 a.m. Central, you will get the replay and then the little slide deck and things like that you'll be able to have access to. Tomorrow, that is Friday the 6th at around 8 a.m. Wonderful. Well, stay warm. Have a strong finish to your week, and we'll catch you next time.